Hey, Jenny.
Hello,
She's
everybody.
she's
How are
there.
you?
I know she's there. She's in the ether. Hey.
Can you hear me and see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great. Sorry, the internet connection is not great. I am on location in Tasmania.
Ooh. Ooh.
Interesting.
Are you having fun?
Yeah, it's great. I just apologize for technical difficulties. But
You're all good.
but so I think we can kick off, and then as any of the others trickle in. So would you like to open, Vic?
Yeah, sure. I was just saying that this data reliability is sponsored by sweet and spicy cashews, which are ridiculous. I am going to try and not eat the whole pack during our call.
Why not?
My chances.
That's all right. All right. Well, you can do the welcome and kick off.
All right, welcome. This is the Fund Committee. We want to make legal services available to people that want them, and we want to make it accessible. So the whole idea is, can we do this? And there's a couple of questions that come to mind when thinking about this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share just like my my free stream of thoughts on the matter. I'm disabled from screen sharing, Jody. Can I please share? Thank you.
I know it's hot off the press, the white paper, but any initial reactions from the pay to rely model description or parts to that?
I'm guiltily going to say that I have not reviewed it yet, but that's my afternoon list. When I have consumed an illegal amount of cashews, I hope that I don't have a coma.
All right, so you should be able to share, I hope.
Awesome. Okay, so just running through what I think, what do we need to do? Just at the top of the call, what is our remit? So we're looking at legal and tax products. We're looking at what self-insurance looks like within the context of providing legal services and advice. There's a uniform law, and the uniform law is an important law because it regulates how legal practitioners provide their services. And there's some rules around insurance in there as well. So we've got to think not merely just about, what self-insurance looks like as it might to any other professional service or product provider, but also what's specific to the legal industry. Product design. This is interesting because it's sort of now we need to look at how we are actually going to roll out legal advice. Is it a set of terms and conditions? Are those terms and conditions going to update automatically? Is it a piece of advice that's so common enough that we can create a generalist advice that updates in only in relation to the client? Or does it update in relation to other variables? So now we get into the really fun, weedy bit of figuring out how do we actually do this. And the super fun thing is that we've got some clients that are interested and are, queued and ready to wait, queued and ready and waiting to see what we can come up with. Now, like all clients, they're impatient, but particularly in the Web3 space, they're very impatient. So the race is on to see what we can make. And I think that, the mindset, and I come to this with the spirit of, fix it or make it, see if it works, break it, fix it again, trial it, hope that it works, see that it works, celebrate. If it dicks up, try again. So that's
and
really
that's what feels like overnight success.
So yeah, this is not meant to be so much about theorizing about whether something works. This is meant to be a practical application of it and to see how far we could get. So I'm super excited about it, as you can tell. And an NFT design. Well, how are we going to actually do this? What's the vehicle that we think might work best? And we've sort of landed notionally on NFTs, so let's see if that works. So that's remit. In terms of like some early thoughts on the matter, well, first of all, can a DAO provide legal services and advice? We need to look to the legal profession rules. As I mentioned previously, they're uniform across Vic and New South Wales with, variances across the other states and territories. So we need to look to whether we can do that. And that's a simple question of statutory interpretation. And early signs are yes, which is great. I can walk through what that looks like and what the uniform laws. For this example, I've looked at the New South Wales ones, but they're much of a muchness between Vic and New South Wales. Yes, we can.
Yeah, well, and I think the protocol that seems to get 9 out of 10 functionality is Mirror, where the legal advice or the product, the pay to rely product, can be written and deployed as an NFT, and the author, so that might be you in your authorized representative capacity of alt law, you actually provide the content to the Secretary of Law Fi DAO or a delegate who checks that it's in the approved form. And this is where it becomes quite manual and introducing centralization just for the purposes of controlling the experiment, where the Secretary actually deploys the NFT from Mirror and specifies whether there's 50 in the collection that can be purchased and the price that it can be purchased. But Mirror doesn't give the integration, the web integrations that we need to collect the person, say that's a token exchange, their information for the purposes of then triggering off the separate cost agreement NFT, which we could do using Mirror as well, but it's that clunky manual process of, unless we have a bespoke protocol, it still goes back through the Secretary and with the assistance of perhaps you as the member to bring it all about.
It's going to be a fun one.
Well, and sorry, the other protocol, because we're composing this and stitching it together, is Oxsplits. Now, because that price, when you deploy the NFT through Mirror, I say it's effectively $100 per NFT. Now, I have to specify that goes to the LawFi DAO Treasury wallet. But then what Oxsplits does is, if I've received $100 worth of ETH, then I can send that to the splitting wallet. And Oxsplits lets me set that up to say, for this particular product, or for all products that Alt Law is going to submit through the LawFi DAO, they will always get the 30% cut. 25% will go to the insurance pool, 25% to the peer review pool, and the balance to this black box pool. That split actually we do through, again, a separate protocol, and again, quite clunky.
I think that we're going to need to do it that way, just off looking at the uniform laws and around disclosure. When other lawyers are engaged in the provision of legal services, you must disclose that in your retainer. Actually, yeah, you must disclose it in your retainer.
Well, and the related point to that is, in the white paper, there's effectively a version 1, a version 2, and a version 3 of the pay to rely protocol. And version 1 is that very clunky stage. But if we're seeking to take the legal profession bodies along the journey of utopia, of full autonomy or autonomous operations, then what you mentioned of being notified at the time that the law change or the facts change, that triggers a notice to the lawyer and to the client as to, okay, even though you've paid $100 or $1,000, this advice is now out of date after only 2 days.
Yeah.
And then so it's a process of, okay, well, Vic and Alt Law, what is your capacity to turn around the updated advice and then push another payment through? And the pricing model is going to have to be experimented with to see if the market does take up this sort of model, and what seeks to pay for it regularly, and what happens if they've paid for it and now they can't rely.
Super interesting thinking about legal services as a subscription service, because that's sort of really sort of it melds where reg tech is going, and reg tech subscriptions like the Argos alerts for super and law changes in complex super laws. I think that there's going to be a little bit of time and intellectual energy put towards navigating how not merely a retainer and cost disclosure agreement looks like, what it looks like, and how it's going to be managed when the DAO wants to provide legal advice. But a step back and before that, which is, okay, if the DAO doesn't lacks legal personality, what does it fall under the uniform laws? Uniform laws do have a very generalist thing that says doesn't matter if you're unincorporated or incorporated, we'll still make laws to regulate you. It's cool, we can do that. And so I think that we've got enough latitude to actually at least bring this to the Uniform Law Council, which I think is probably the better or a avenue for having dialogue about this. One of the things that I am curious about nutting out is, okay, what does it actually look like? So let's take a real world example. I have a client, they want a privacy policy. They want to be up and running. They've got an exchange. They can pay $4,000 for a privacy policy with their current legal representative. And that's really expensive. They don't really want to do that. They have to do that, 20 countries worldwide, and it's, gets ridiculous. So what does it look like to create a privacy policy that they can rely on? It's going to be exactly the same as another privacy policy that another exchange is going to rely on. Are we going to make that privacy policy available to them, and it's going to be Australia specific? Are we going to create an iteration of that privacy policy that meets their needs in, say, Indonesia? Are we going to create an individual NFT for a privacy policy? Say, for example, the same client needs terms and conditions. Terms and conditions are likely to be more variable based on clients' individual needs in their service offering. So are we going to create an NFT for a specific set of terms and conditions that are general enough, and then we're going to create a specific bolt-on top of that? That's sort of what I want to start turning our minds to. And then in terms of retainer, our retainers are going to need to swap the client out each time a piece of advice is relied upon or a legal product is relied upon. Where are our terms going to sit? It's impractical to have, I think my current retainer sits at about 8 pages, and I've worked with designers to condense that language into 3 or 4 elegant columns at the back end of a letter, just to make it more visually easier to read and less obstructive to the objective of getting the work done. So where are those terms going to sit? It's impractical to have them form the entirety of a smart legal contract. Are they going to sit off chain? Will they sit, say, on my website? If I'm providing advice, will they sit on the DAO's website?
Well, I love the approach that the Can't Be Evil licenses took, because it's attempting to get standardization, and they do acknowledge that you can't cover all of the circumstances, but there's 6 categories should cover most. And they deployed the text to Arweave, and basically that if you pick license number 1, it's got a mapping code. So to embed it at that source code or smart contract level, all they need now in the code is to do that reference, and so it still relies, when somebody builds the user interface, they can say, I want to pull this particular field, and this is particularly like the NFT marketplaces, and display, in addition to the traits, in addition to all of the other things, I want to display the type of license. So that was a fantastic approach to support the terms being embedded in the code, but it still doesn't solve the problem of getting people to read them. But that's why standardization is the sort of true goal, because by being standardized, if people know that that's license 1, they don't need to read it, because that's the common understanding that's developed. And we won't necessarily get to that stage with each member contributing each legal template or legal advice, but through this process, perhaps you could find similar lawyers to work with in the way that A16Z pulled a number of law firms together to get that minimum standard of 6 suite of NFT licenses. A16Z through Miles Jennings.
Miles Jennings. Okay, cool. So kind of like the Creative Commons license, that's pretty well regarded and understood to mean you can do whatever you want with it within reason. And that's sort of, a general understanding. We're seeking to obtain that type of level of standardization and consensus around what something means. Cool. All right. What do I have on the list? So Canada now provide legal services and advice, looking at professional rules. Yes, with an asterisk. Better go get some consent, better go get a blessing, better to ask for permission rather than beg for forgiveness.
Well, just to pause on this, because I think maybe clear legal language could do this, but it still doesn't stop a claim being made against the DAO, and this is why there is the insurance pool. The actual legal service, LawFi DAO is the platform, it's not the service provider. So the service and the claim would still be made as between the customer and the provider, which in this case perhaps is alt law or blockchain and digital assets. But if there is any confusion about endorsement or in some way that the members of the DAO have been active, then that could result in a claim. Or, if your cover is $2 million and there's been more than that lost, the DAO could get added to the claim. So
it might be useful looking at, say, some of the providers of legal services that like the jobbers that I mentioned in the establishment call. So like I can have a chat with Lawyers on Demand and see how they run their operations, because ultimately they run a network of independent legal services providers that are all have their own incorporated legal practices, and then they second those individuals into organizations to provide legal services. So yeah, I'm just trying to think of what like an analogous arrangement might look like that has the quote unquote papal blessing of the uniform professional legal services people. I did a couple of years ago approach the Victorian Legal Services Board and the LPLC because I wanted to do something in the automation of legal services space. And I found them to be cooperative and open-minded and supportive of trying to understand how to traverse legislation that doesn't really contemplate what you want to do with it. So I am encouraged by that.
Well, and the final thing is we're approaching this from the perspective of trying to be or attempting to be compliant. But if we were a Web3 native DAO, we would not necessarily be looking at what the law requires us to do now, but what is the best user experience that is most efficient and fair. And so that's not included in this first draft of the white paper, but it's something that I think lawyers and policymakers, we need to force ourselves to turn our minds to, because we're so institutionalized, and it's our legal training, it's our legal obligation to follow the law. But this is the juxtaposition of the parallel or separate system that is being built in this, borderless global technology. If you had a clean slate to do things differently, how would you do them?
Absolutely. And the bit of the Uniform Act that I love, if you can love a bit of the Uniform Legal Act, Varun, I need to get out more, is that legal costs must be fair and reasonable. And that is with regard to all the circumstances, in particular, making sure that they're proportionate and reasonably incurred and in amount. And I mean, let's take a look at this. We exist to serve a very specific part of the community. And part of the needs, the unique and specific needs of that community is an incredible amount of speed, an incredible amount of agility, and an incredible amount of creative and dynamic thinking in a high risk area with gray, where the laws are gray. And we need to be able to move quickly and not bankrupt startups before they even get up and out the door. So I think that there is a very strong case, an impassioned case to make that a model where we can make those services affordable and on a pay to rely and one to many model makes sense. Anyway, there we go. I'm off my soapbox now. Practicalities.
Varun, please interject if anything is sparking curiosity or ideas. Please feel free to let us know.
I'm pretty much over my head at this point. I feel like it is a lot more legal than I am used to at all, and I'm not sure in general how much I can contribute. So I'm just gonna keep listening.
You're all good.
Well, no, because you're a tax agent, and one of the possible products is non-legal professional products. So as a tax agent, you could contribute your template work papers, your requests for information to properly prepare a DeFi tax return, and have other tax agents that are not so skilled as you pay to rely, and for you to recoup your investment in proper processes, which lifts the standards. So that's a separate sort of, what are the accounting standards, what are the ethics, what are the tax agent legal requirements, and so that can be the focus of next week's session, to make it more specific to you as a tax agent core contributor, if that's where you were wanting to go. Yeah, lots to think about. So I might put that on the agenda for next week, and we can bring up the tax agent relevant law.
Let's not forget that when it comes to the production of evidence, Varun, your job is so important when it comes to clients that are trying to navigate the travails of complex tax law and are seeking advice. And I mean, I'm not really the person to speak to this because I'm not the tax lawyer on the call. But yeah, I think that just looking at how your services plug into and are complementary to legal services in the industry, it cannot be overstated how important that is.
Yep, fair. Need to think on that.
Jamie, we did mention an insurance previously before the call. Mr. Foley is unfortunately unavailable today. I'm going to see if he's available for a future call, maybe next week.
Yeah, but I've had an initial discussion with him, and sort of the task at hand for us is, as we're considering even the base model, pay to rely model, writing down what the key risks are that would result in a claim, and that is really what would be presented to the insurers, and there might need to be a stack of them that support or underwrite our insurance pool, and he's so he's been very helpful for a number of different insurance needs for Web3 clients, and it's always an exploratory exercise to determine whether you can get insurance cover, and how high is the deductible or the excess going to be, what are the exclusions. So probably the policies will still be quite high, but the insurance pool maybe in the first year or two could cover the premiums for a higher level of cover, and then perhaps after a number of years it could be self-sustaining, such that it's treasury managed, and it's got a whole level of expertise around it to fund the claims anticipated. And Rick Shaw is one of the people we've had on the calls earlier as an actuary, and it's actually done a lot with insurance. So I'm hoping that he'll be on the calls too, to help us flesh out a basic set of requirements and be able to document the risks, and really out to 2 to 3 years, if we even can, based on experimental technology, what potential claim size would be.
The fun thing that, if for anybody that gets to listen to this call later, is I was reading about how the Lloyd's of London started. It literally started in a coffee shop, and it was a collection of people going, what do we do about these ships? What do we do about things, falling off them and, getting into walls and sinking. And it was literally it was not a corporate association. It was a loose collection of individuals that had no animus at law or no legal personality, that decided to collectively address a problem that they needed solving. And also it was a truly distributed network. It was not just ships based in the UK, it was international. So naturally, I thought the parallels were quite enjoyable. And that's the insurance.
Absolutely. Well, with the few minutes left, did you want to go through any further tasks or agenda items, and we can try to set the agenda and any pre-work for next week?
Absolutely. I will continue contacting legal services boards and just seeing where I can get a meeting, and we'll update the working group on that. I'd really like to start getting stuck into what it looks like to make a retainer that is a smart legal contract. Is there anyone in the group that I can talk to that is a Solidity developer or has experience making them, and we can start learning something together, and I can start working on the terms and conditions of the retainer and the variable components of them, and then splice that out and hopefully have something to present, if not next week, the week after.
Even if there is model rules put out by the New South Wales Law Society or the Victorian one, I think I err on the side of using those as whatever is put in initially to ensure that the regulators or the oversight bodies are familiar with them. And then as the next step, we seek to make them more visually appealing, able to be understood and able to be interacted with. But Nathan Lenger, Jules Ioannidis, Roy, who you heard from this morning, each I think have varying capacities of skills in Solidity writing, and if they don't, if it sort of goes beyond them, we'll rely on their network. And Gordon Christensen actually mentioned that Beibu is based in Queensland and has a large developer network too, so we could possibly even put a note through Gordon to reach out through Beibu and see if anybody comes back.
Okay, are you happy for me to dick around, for want of a better word, with a developer and just see what I can make, and then everybody can shame it and tear it to shreds?
Yeah, well, it's make sure that they read the Law-Fi DAO rules and the white paper and understand that their contribution is intended to be reflected based on time. And if they do actually want to have the work submitted, then they should be a member of Law-Fi DAO and to get recognition from it. So it's and then, as you know, all of the membership applications that we receive, I put up to the committee for approval, and we go through that base. So if they're happy to look at the rules and be involved on that basis, then yeah, the more the merrier. Actually, with one qualification, we do need to put in the application to register as an incorporated association, because we have the reach the 20 member limit.
Register as an incorporated.
We have to seek to register. It's not certain that we will get registered because the proposed draft tokenomics model may not pass the pecuniary benefits tests, in which case we would default to being a partnership, but a partnership also can't have more than 20 members, so we would need to register as a company.
Oh, that's the fun one. Hang on, 20.
Which, as you know, is not the idea of a DAO, which they do not want to be a company.
Annoying.
Yeah, so it's funny how quickly you get yourself, within a matter of weeks, into a company structure. We've got to attempt to be legally compliant, but I'm excited to work it through with the Consumer Affairs Victoria body.
Yeah, definitely.
And similarly, an early engagement will be put through the Australian Federal Companies Regulator.
Who will be coordinating that?
We can do it together.
Okay, cool. I'd love to do that. I think that this is something that's a real practical, surfy our clients are encountering every day. So rather than just advising on it, having the practical experience of navigating that territory is of extreme value.
Yeah, and all of that correspondence will also make public through the DAO so that people can follow the journey and learn from it. Okay, well, thank you for chairing the session. I should have introduced you. You're the chair of the Pay to Rely subcommittee, and very grateful for your efforts already and to come, Vic.
My pleasure.
And thanks for joining, Varun. Look forward to your insights
Thank you.
every DAO day and coming next week too.
Thank you.
Tell Greg that it was amazing and he missed out on so much. And yeah.
Yeah, I will. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.